Okay, next part we have this so-called 2D signal or two-dimensional signal. So if a 1D signal has f of x, for example, 2D signal has f of x and y. So we now have two variables in our function. And as you can see, 2D signal is a function that depends on two independent variables, typically representing spatial dimensions. Because spatial dimensions or the considering the space, okay, or the point in a given space, um, we- just imagine the coordinates. Okay, so um, we have the x and y coordinates, right? So this is usually common in images. So images are composed of pixels, and okay, these are, for example, these are pixels. Okay, and each pixel has its corresponding location. Okay, let's say this is pixel 0, pixel 1, pixel 2, and so on. Right? So let's say 0, 0, 0, 1, 0, 2, 0, 3, and then 1, 0, 1, 0, 1, 1, 1, 2, and 1, and so on. Okay, so that's two-dimensional, an example of assigning IDs for two-dimensional signal. But of course, it differs on different techniques. Okay. So unlike 1D signals, 2D signal varies across two dimensions such as horizontal and vertical spatial coordinates. So it's very important that we differentiate the pixels from one another in terms of their spatial dimension, because that's the core principle that we manipulate when it comes to image processing. Okay, so just imagine if in 1D signal we modify one parameter only. In 2D signals we modify two parameters. Okay, so you're going to learn more of this in one of our next modules. I think in the third module. Okay, when we talk about image processing. So 2D signals are also used, or another common example of 2D signals is what we call spectrogram. So spectrograms are somewhat like the image of audio signals. Okay, so but before we focus more on spectrograms, we have to understand first the term spectrum. Okay, so spectrum is used to classify something or suggest that it can be classified in terms of its position on a scale based on a scale between two extreme points. So for example, we have the audio spectrum. So the audio spectrum is defined as the the 20 hertz to 20,000 hertz. So that's right here, 20 hertz up to 20,000 hertz. Okay, so meaning that's the range that can be perceived, or the range of sounds that can be perceived by the human ear. Okay, so that's those are the two extreme points, the 20 and 20,000. So this is called the audio spectrum. Okay, so it is composed of components like bass, upper bass, mid-range, upper mid-range, and high end. So below the bass, we have what we call subsonic. So this is the spectrum that is too um that has too low frequency for the human ears to hear or to sense. Right? On the other hand, we have the supersonic spectrum, which have frequencies that are too high for the human ear to perceive. Okay. On in the same way, we have the optical spectrum. So if our ears have the audio spectrum, our eyes have the optical spectrum as well. Okay. So the entire electromagnetic spectrum um, has a lot of portions. Or actually, we can divide that into different subspectrums, like the optical, sorry, the optical spectrum. Okay, so from the lowest frequency up to the highest frequency, the ones that the human eyes can see are within this range only. Okay, and this range is what we call optical spectrum. So it has some um uh okay, in the optical spectrum we usually convert the frequencies into the corresponding wavelength. Okay, so wavelength, just divide the speed of light by the frequency, and you get wavelength. Okay, so just remember, the optical spectrum is around 700 nanometers up to 400 plus the nanometers. Okay. What else? Okay. At the same time, we can be more specific when it comes to spectrum. We can refer to the signal spectrum, okay, the spectrum of the signal itself, or we can refer to the spectrum of the system. So what we are normally designing is the system spectrum, because this is what shapes the signal that goes through in it. So it's like the mold, okay? If you want a signal to be shaped in a certain way, then your mold must be shaped into that kind of shape, okay? So signal spectrum shows how its amplitude is distributed across different frequencies. You're going to see that in a while. System spectrums illustrates how an input signal's different frequency components are altered by the system, and it is represented by the transfer function. So that's another component that, or key concept that we are going to discuss in a lot of other portions in this course. Okay, so here's an example of an illustration of signal and system spectrum. Okay, so for example, you have this input, okay, and the color blue here is your system spectrum. Okay, so as you can see, our input has a corresponding signal spectrum, which is the color green. Okay, so it goes from here and here. So if you observe here, all portions of the green, okay, the green spectrum, meaning the signal spectrum, fits within the system spectrum. So meaning it does not exceed, it does not go beyond the blue part. Okay, so if you have noticed, the input is somewhat the same with the output, or meaning nothing much has changed. Because just imagine if an object goes through uh, a tunnel that is wide enough, then it will go out in the same way, okay, as is. Okay, nothing will change in that object. But in our second example here, we have the same input, okay? But this time our system spectrum is different. Okay? So it only accommodates this portion. Okay? And as you can see, there are portions of our signal that is beyond the system spectrum. Okay? We have some portions on the lower side, the lower frequency ones, and some portions on the higher frequencies that are somewhat not included in our system spectrum. So imagine the tunnel, and the certain track does not fit in the tunnel, then most likely the portions of the track that doesn't fit in the tunnel will get cut off. Okay, will be removed. It cannot go through the tunnel. So similarly, some lower frequencies portions were removed. Okay, so as you can see, the lower part, lower frequency part, okay, there's a big deviation, or the big alteration of the signal. Okay, so the signal has been altered significantly. Okay, well, in the middle part, as you can see, the middle part is somewhat retained. Okay, But the upper part, as you can see, there's a big duration as well. Okay, remember this is our scale here is logarithmic. So from 400, we go to 1,000 and then 1,000 and 4,000. So meaning this is from here, if this is 3,000, this could be 3,500. So meaning 500 hertz. So around 500 hertz of frequency components have been removed in this part. Okay, so that's the main essence of signal processing. Okay, so we design a system, we design our system in a way that it will reshape our intended signal. Okay, so it depends on the purpose. What should our signal become when it goes through our system? Okay, so that's the main essence of that. And therefore, we have to study what we call signal analysis, which refers to the study of collecting, understanding, and deducing information and intelligence from various signals. While signal processing is a term that covers the analysis, modification, and synthesis of signals. So basically, before we can do signal processing, we have to do signal analysis because part of signal processing is signal analysis. So in signal analysis, we usually check the power and energy of a signal. We determine whether a signal is an energy type or a power type. Okay, so we have some mathematical ways to check them. Okay, we also check their PSD or the power spectral density. Okay, so especially these are some of the features that we study when we go to the what we call feature extraction for machine learning purposes. Okay, so in the meantime, these are some of the um, uh, keywords that we have to watch out for. Okay, for real-world signals, frequency domain offers an analysis methodology rather than a synthesis approach. By viewing any signal as being a sum of sine waves, we can analyze or alter the signal by considering these individual sine wave components rather than the complex complete signal. Okay, so this is the reason why signal analysis must be done as part of signal processing because actually we have to dissect a given signal because each signal is basically composed of a sum of different sinusoidal signals. Okay, so let's okay, let's go. Let's consider this one. So imagine this. Okay, this is a sine signal, one sinusoidal signal. Okay, if we look at its side view, okay, so side view, we look at side view, okay, then we can only see one signal, okay, in the frequency, right? So FFT, by the way, is fast Fourier transform. We're going to talk about that in the next module. So in the time domain, we can see this one, okay, but if we look at the frequency domain, or meaning if we look at its spectrum, it's just this one. Okay, so pure sinusoidal signals has just one pulse in the spectrum, in its spectrum. Okay, while if we combine two sinusoidal signals, two pure sinusoidal signals, okay, as you can see, you get two pure sinusoidal signals in the spectrum with different frequencies. Okay, so different frequencies. But if we have four sinusoidal signals, we can have something like this, and then we get this much. Okay? But if we have other types of signals like square waves, okay, so square waves are basically some of different sinusoidal signals with differing amplitude and phase. So if you look at the square wave, actually it has this kind of spectrum. So it has infinite number of what we call harmonics. So it has 1, fundamental signal and then infinite number of harmonics. So that's an overview of signal processing. So we have to dissect first the composition of a given signal. So imagine this, one fundamental signal plus another one, okay? So for 1 hertz, it has something like this. For 2 hertz, okay? If we add another one, then we have this kind of signal, and then add another one, okay? So basically, we analyze signals through their components. Like we have to analyze the signals component by component, right? And once we analyze them per component, we do processing per component as well. Okay, so what processing do we do? Okay, we talk about this in the next part.